Hello, boxing fans around the world. Welcome to another episode of The Scoop on Talking Fight featuring champ Bola Ray. And this week, we are continuing to explore the great Canadian fighters who went on to enjoy a life on the global stage, quite frankly, as fantastic champions in their weight divisions. And tonight, we've got a special guest who I'll allow you to introduce as a good friend of yours. Well,
Yeah.
champ, for a good viewership out there, who do you have?
Well, today I am going to be talking to a friend of mine he is a nothing shy of a huge personality in a cricket frame. he is he's nothing shy of amazing. The pride of Edmonton. He was part of that infamous '88 Olympic team that everything seemed to go wrong. With the exception of Lennox winning, everything seemed to go wrong. So, actually became a world champion. Good on you. My name is Bola Ray. This is The Scoop. So today, we're going to be talking to none other than Scotty the Bulldog Olson. How are you, sir?
I'm doing really good, really well. Thank you so much.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You look ever so comfortable.
Oh, yeah, I'm just a little guy, so I usually tall people look higher than their coach. This is a really short coach too, but I can I'll get my head above it. So,
well done, well done. How is the retirement treating you from boxing? What does it look like? Do you have anything to do with boxing?
Well, retirement was very difficult because when I did retire, I wasn't really doing it on my terms. I did it to kind of pacify my family and to stay healthy, as I had two daughters by then and a wife, and a mother that didn't want me to end up being too punchy. And so when I some of the boxing part, I had wished I had continued on and being able to kind of close out my career on my terms when I wanted to, but I did. I think I did the noble and the right thing and retired, and I didn't come back after that. So since retirement, I decided the business of boxing kind of got to me and really bothered me. I'd been hurt a little bit here and there, and so I decided to break away from boxing. So I started to sell cars. So I sold cars for 12 years, and in and out, I'd go to the gyms once in a while and maybe offer a couple tips to a few people. And so that's really what retirement has been, is just the selling cars, and until I had a cardiac arrest, of which I have not gone back to work from.
You haven't gone back to work?
No.
Wow.
No. Well, we had some. I'm pretty happy to be here. I wasn't supposed to, and they put me into an induced coma because I was gone, and they were able to had to put some stents in my heart, and what else did they do? So they put me into an induced coma, and they had to tell my family that they didn't think I was going to wake up, and if I did wake up, they didn't know how I would be. Thank God I woke up and I was able to come out of that coma, and I still had some faculties left. I had some cognitive ability still, but I have some glitches. So as a result of some of those glitches, I am not back to work.
Wow. Okay. Well, for the record, I'm exceptionally pleased that you are still with us.
Hey, yeah, me too.
Completely aces.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you start? How did you embark on this journey called boxing?
That's a pretty cool story. I'd tried so many sports.
Basketball?
I played it and I liked it. I was but no, so okay. I participated in it, but I didn't try it that hard with basketball. But I did judo and I did swimming and I did baseball, all these things, and I was quite an active kid. But I could never do any of these sports well. I had no athletic ability. It was
Wow.
like there's no athletic ability. So, you go to see me play a baseball game and I'm on the bench, and I never got chances to play very often because I wasn't good. And if I was on a team sport and I made a mistake, well, then the whole team would suffer, and I hated that. So I figured, right, I wanted to go into an individual sport, and I tried judo, but I was a little rough for that. I wanted something a little bit more aggressive, or would cater to my aggressive nature. And then I met Al Ford, who was a former Canadian lightweight champion, fought Ken Buchanan in an untitled fight really well. He was anyway. So I meet Al Ford at the mall, and we sat. My mom and I sat him down, and he had these scars over his eyes, right? And he'll say they weren't from boxing, but they were. So he got some X here, and his nose is kind of like this.
Yeah.
Talking to me, and he's throwing punches as he's talking about his career. And then I said to my mom, let me try this. I got to try boxing. Let me try, at least try it. But if you're a mom and you have a son who has no athletic ability, chances of her letting you be a boxer are pretty slim. So she said no, but my family kicked in, bought me a heavy bag for Christmas. I beat it up for about 8 months, but I was skipping school to hit the heavy bag. And then my neighbors told on me, and after months of this, I was finally allowed. She says, "Scotty, if you stay in school, I will allow you to try boxing." And uh, and that was the only sport I tried that people seemed to they said, "Wow, you're doing really well." Like I kind of liked that to be a semi kind of athlete. That was pretty cool.
Uh,
Yeah.
Positive reinforcement.
Yes.
It's quite the motivator.
Well, yeah,
Well done.
just not being yelled. Well, yeah, I was yelled at, but uh, just being, I remember my first fight, and so I'm fighting this older, more experienced guy, and boom, and I hammered him, and I went to go pick him up after I put him down, and I was going to lean down, and they pushed us apart, and there was quite a few people at the fights for that fight and for the show that it was. I can't remember what the actual show was, but they uh, uh, they brought me to the center of the ring and they announced me as the winner. And then my arm goes up, and then everybody's clapping and cheering, like me doing a sport, and they're cheering like, oh my god. I was beside myself, and it was that roar of the crowd
Yeah.
that I really loved. I loved
Yeah.
people going watching me be able to do a sport.
That's amazing. That could get intoxicating real quick, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's as you roar the crowd, it got so bad for I didn't even care if I won a fight or lost. I just wanted to entertain everybody and have a good fight. Of course, I was never going to quit, but to have them enjoy it. So then I became. I thought what they wanted to see were knockouts, so I tried to punch as hard as I can with every shot I had, all the time. So that and they did. The fans like to watch uh, me try to go after these fast boxers and me with the slower hands and just trying to rock and roll and hit them with a good shot. Yeah, that's the roar. Their cheers really turned me on.
No. Now, with that, with that, you have a scenario where everybody, everybody on God's green earth that knows you as a puncher. Would that be where your name Bulldog came from?
I think so. I used to look at old pictures of fighters, and there was Rocky Marciano throwing right hands, and
Yeah.
yeah, this is what I need to try to do is rock and make sure I throw my right hand. So I never used my left hand. I would just like stick it out there because just to pacify my own coach. And then I would try and so but the right hand was all I worked on. So man, if somebody stood still and cooperated for a second, and I hit, and it was game over. Game there.
If they understood the script, just stand there. That's what the script says. Game over. Yeah, well,
That's right.
wonderful.
And Russ Amber, my friend Russ, he was the one that called me Bulldog in 1985. I was 17, got on the Canadian senior national team about a year early, but I didn't go intermediate. There was junior, intermediate, and senior fighting, and I
Yep.
jumped from junior to senior. So I was a little bit younger than everybody, but Russ, he nicknamed Russ Amber nicknamed me the Bulldog. And
Great for Russ.
when I would go into fights, a lot of times like guys like Lennox Lewis and Egerton Marcus and the whole team, Howard Grant and Asif Dar, they would bark and they go woo woo when they come into the ring. So yeah, I always had a lot of support.
That's awesome. Speaking of that team, speaking of those guys, they're all part of that infamous '88 Olympic squad. What was it like? What was that year? That games was so riddled with controversy.
Mm.
Jamie Pegadan. I personally think even what you call it, Egerton Marcus's gold medal match was
Mhm.
nothing shy of a robbery. Not just a robbery in the sense that he should have won, but to have a score 5-0 when he dominated everything, called everything leading up to the gold medal match. Come on.
Yeah, Egerton Marcus is just a remarkable person, was a remarkable fighter, and but there were so many things to that. We had one of the guys, our friend and our teammate Vittorio Salvatore, who had lots of tons of international experience, and I and he was the Canadian champion. But anyway, they didn't allow him to go to the Olympics, and I guess it would have been the bantamweight division, 119. So they didn't let Vittorio Salvatore go, and all of us on the team were really really disappointed in that of because I thought he deserved to be there. Myself, going to the Olympics, I'd gone to the Commonwealth Games, a couple years before that. So I won the Commonwealth Games gold medal. So I figure, well, let's win the Olympics too. It's not rocket science. It's just
No,
fight the same kind of guys and do the same thing. But I did not win. I won my first fight, and then I fought future world champion Wayne McCullough, and I beat him in a second fight. And third fight, I fought Michael Carbajal, who I had beaten before as an amateur. Uh, and then he had beat me one more time and once more before the Olympics by decision. So he beat me again by decision in the Olympics. So that when that happened, my whole world shut down because I expected to win and I didn't. I didn't win, and I knew a guy my size, I would have to have a Olympic gold medal around my neck for any chances of myself being able to turn professional, and I didn't have that.
I'm just finding out exactly how hard that was. Like how hard the transition. I've always assumed that you're an Olympian. That's a huge a check mark for you to turn pro. Like any promoter can promote a former Olympian, but apparently not the case.
No, well, I had already lost, and Egerton Marcus was still in the game in the Olympics, and I had a couple talks with Lou Duva, and I think probably because of my size as well. Plus, I didn't medal, so I didn't I lost in the quarterfinals, so I needed to win that fight to at least have a medal, or at least have a bronze medal, and then I would have won on to the silver medal. I would have won that, and then in the gold medal match, I would have lost because I had I had lost to that guy before who won the Olympic gold medal, and I couldn't hit him. He was too fast for me. If I fought him 100 times, I'd be 0-100.
Who was this guy?
This guy was from Bulgaria, Evalio Marinov. And Marinov, like just before the Olympics, we go to Bulgaria, I fight him. I had won a tournament in Bulgaria in '85, so I was a champion there already. So I fight this guy, and so anyway, 3 rounds go by, I can't hit him, and he just plays with me. After the fight, Marinov is sitting down, having a beer and a cigarette after, and I'm thinking, where here I've sacrificed everything to be as good as I can, and this guy's making it look easy. So I don't think I'd ever would have won an Olympic gold medal unless he tripped himself.
You should have tripped him.
Yes, I couldn't even catch his feet, like to step on his toes, and I couldn't do anything. Oh.
Wow. You made mention of a couple of friends of ours, in Egerton Marcus and Lennox Lewis, and even Nasser Dar.
Warriors, all warriors.
Absolute.
Lennox had such great talent, and Egerton was tough. Asif was tough. Howard Grant was tough. There was we had Otis on the team, Otis Grant a couple times, and we just have a real super strong team, and we were killers. At least I was, anyway.
That's amazing. Did you find? See, you always had the style. Did you find the transition difficult to go into the pros?
No, well, when you have my style and you're not that fast, and so my footwork wasn't very fast, I tried my best to get from like point A to point B, do my opponent as effortlessly as I could, without getting hit too much. And I didn't really care if I got hit so much. So chances are I got hit a lot, and but just going forward. So how can I say it? I might have lost my track there, but you'll have to help me get back to that. What was I? Because I was thinking about another story.
You're talking. I was asking about your transition to the pros. And
yes, thank you. Thank you. So just transitioning that there was the easiest part of that for me, because I would only have 3 rounds. I had 3 rounds, and if I caught them, if it went the distance, chances are internationally, many times I lost fights just because it went the distance, and I'd lose the decision based on points. Well, once I turned pro, and then I fought 6 rounds, and I think I had one scheduled for 8 rounds. The more rounds, the better chances I had were of getting to my opponent and instilling some damage to slow him down. So I just did more rounds. So it was just what a blessing. Like I have when how frustrating it is to fight internationally in some big tournaments and world champion stuff, and you think you're a good fighter. I thought I was a good fighter, but I'm getting beat on points because the guys are pity patting me and running. And I really, it was really emotionally hard for me. It really was. It was really hard. So once I turned pro and they gave me some more rounds, it's like, oh my gosh,
exactly. You get to play the chess game. There's so many more variables. You can wear a person down. You can catch them, like set traps to catch them later on in the fight.
Yeah,
it gets so much more entertaining.
Oh yeah, so it was very much my style. So I grinded down, put a lot of pressure on people, made them a little tired by knowing that I'm out gunning after them. So they would invest a little bit of energy just trying to escape me.
Yeah.
I was able to wear a lot of people down, be a little rough on the inside, make up a little bit for my lack of athletic ability. So I was pretty rough in there, and yeah. So I had my nothing new. I didn't invent too many things in boxing, but I did things that worked well for me to attain some success.
That's amazing. How did your life change, or did it change, upon winning the world title?
That's something I'd been trying to do for a long time. I was number 2 in the world for a long time, and I wasn't the number 1 contender. I was number 2, and this was for a long time. And I wasn't getting. There was 2 or 3 different belts out there, so I was trying to get a chance to fight for a title, and nobody's giving me a title shot. And so my promoters, Top Rank, tried to pay the number 1 contenders. The number 1 contenders, by the way, get an automatic chance to fight for the title as a mandatory challenger. So being number 2, I wasn't the mandatory challenger, and they were ducking and diving me. The champions were. So they offered to pay the number 1 contender the same kind of amount of money that he would get for fighting for the title. And then I would fight for the title. I would get the shot, and then I would make my first defense against the number 1 contender. And both times they turned me down, and it's hard as a pro to stay top on that level without having a blemish. Then I finally had a blemish on my card, and that dropped me from 2 to about 8th in the world, and it was
Wow.
So getting a shot, an opportunity to fight for a world title for the IBO, the International Boxing Organization, that was really, really a blessing. And I was a very proud champion. It's not how would I say it? It's not the belt that makes the fighter makes the belt.
Genuinely.
So
I think George Foreman said the same thing.
Yeah.
George Foreman said the exact same thing.
Oh, he stole it from me then.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, winning the world title, and that one I got to win in my hometown here in Edmonton, and we had just a packed place. We had about 5,000 people in the facility, which was just absolutely packed, and so I fought a kid from the Philippines. So a good guy, I think his record, I don't know if he was 21-1 or 21-2. Anyway, he's a good little fighter, and I was able to fight him for the title and beat him. And I proved a lot of people wrong because I had some injuries and hand injuries, breaking my hand all the time, and operations, setbacks. And I was told to retire from boxing from my doctors. Maybe it's best that box because I'm just going to continue to hurt myself. But they allowed me to fight one more time in my hometown, and then I won the title, the world title, or a world title. And then I never lost the title, but I had it for about 4.5 years. And I defended it, I think, 5 times, but injuries kept me from defending it, 2, 3, 5 times a year. Or else I had a lot of title fights.
Wow. That's unfortunate, but yeah, that's a reality in the sport. Oh wow. I have hand injuries, but that's what happens when you're a puncher, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, now you're telling me, it's like you would think, and it wasn't until I'd been retired for about 8 or 9 years. So I'm playing pool. I'm at sort of a bar. It has a pool table. It's got one of these things that you pull down a speed bag, and then you hit the speed bag when it registers your punching power. So
Okay.
I gear up, and I boom, I hit the thing with my right hand, and the number scores up. And then so I go southpaw and I throw my left hand like a just a straight left hand. The left hand was stronger than the right hand. And if I had known that when I was a fighter, took me 8 years after. If I had known that, I would have worked a lot more on it, and that saved quite a few injuries on the right hand. So, but I guess that's something we learn as you go. And I just didn't realize I had that kind of power on the left side. It always felt awkward, but the power was there, and it was stronger than it was on the right. And I was a powerhouse with the right hand.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
Did you now, as a retired boxer, how would you like to see boxing change, improve? Or is there anything that you think is going along swimmingly?
There's a lot of points. I think that I wish that there were more fighters, like myself included, that were a little bit more. There are a lot of them are still helping fighters. Howard Grant, Otis Grant, Dwight Frazier. You have Mike Strange has helped out a ton. Graham McIntosh has helped out a ton. So there's a lot of fighters that have given back. But if more gave back, I think that the level of competition and the level of fighters in Canada would increase. And I think we're and increase to the point where we were winning more gold
on the international stage,
and gold medals and other medals in the big tournaments wouldn't be so few and far between. And I really like the women fighting. I love watching that. They duke it out. They love watching women fight. But really changing stuff. I would like to see them not have a training camp based out of Montreal. So I'm from Alberta. If I was Canadian champion and I wanted to be on the Canadian national team, I'd have to go and I was doing it now. I'd have to go from Edmonton all the way to Montreal or somewhere in Quebec there.
Yep.
And I would have to pay my own way basically, and I'd have to maybe find a job over there.
Well,
and I'd have to maybe pay for some of my flights to the international competitions. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth and or in my throat, and my family wouldn't be able to afford to do those things for me. And then so I would have been lost. I lost in the process. So I think that if your trainer is your trainer and he's got you to the point where you're a Canadian champion, I think you should be allowed to be able to stay with that trainer. He's got you so far. Why then leave him and go join some other people you've never even met before? It doesn't make sense to me.
No, you know what? I've asked that question a few times, and yet I have yet to hear anybody actually speak in favor of that scenario. It doesn't make a lick of sense to me. You're talking from moving from Edmonton. If I was still amateur, going and having to move to Montreal from Toronto, why? Why? Everything that made me a champion is here, and then I'm going to uproot it. I think that it would actually do me a disservice.
Disservice. I love that word. Yes.
Well, but truthfully, like at the end of the day, everything that made you a champion, you're then going to push it away and go to a totally different environment. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Different environment, different stuff. I didn't even like training camps very often. We had good trainers. We had Taylor Gordon and Adrian Tedescu, and we had Russ Amber with us. But I was really a huge fan of training camps because for the big fights I'd have to leave out Edmonton, but it was paid for. Like they flew me to Ottawa or Toronto or to nice places like Colorado Springs to train for competitions. We've a lot of places, but I kind of like being around my coach, and I enjoyed that, and I think I would have done similarly as well, had I just stayed with my coach and then come fight time, I'm in Toronto to hook up with everybody else and fly to where we're fighting. But camaraderie, and some memories and things we had together, like with Lennox and I, and we just Lennox and I had a blast. Everton, and he's like my best friend, and Stevie Beaupre, and we had so many of them, and Peg and Dab, all these guys. So I don't know. There's just so much camaraderie that. So I guess maybe I take that back a little bit. Maybe I did enjoy training camp a little more than what I'm saying, because it did provide me with so many neat memories that I wouldn't have had I just trained with my
coach.
Yeah. So maybe I'll change that up a little bit, but but to live, like I can see a training camp for 2 weeks or something, or even if it's for a month, go off to a training camp for 2 weeks with the team. That's what we used to do. I didn't have to move to Quebec to be a Canadian champion.
Yeah, exactly.
Be an international fighter. I think that's too ridiculous.
Well, I thank you. I thank you for your contribution to boxing history, for Canadian boxing history. I thank you on behalf of the Scoop and Scoop Nation. I like that, Scoop Nation.
I'll look that one up.
No, it's
yeah. Sometimes you know, there's different things. There's so many different ways to look at things. As I've gotten older, when I was young, it was just one way or the other.
Yeah.
That. And now now that I'm older, I can take a little bit of time and think about things. So sometimes I can jump ahead a little bit and have a comment on something, but there's usually different sides. And now I'm a little more patient in being older, and I'm able to decipher a better opinion for myself most of the time. But
fair enough. That comes with age. That comes with experience.
So I got a lot of it then.
No, there you go.
A lot of age, a lot of.
Awesome. Scotty, I want to thank you for coming out today.
That's my pleasure.
This has been sensational. And with that, Scoop Nation. I like that. I like this. That's t-shirt worthy. Scoop Nation. If you like this episode, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to smash the notification bell. It's your boy Bola. And that's a scoop. Thank you so much, Scotty.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.